So what idea did I come up with before the advent of GPS, and what happened to that idea? Well, I'm going to tell that story next. Hey, it's Don Skaggs again with Empowered Inventing TV, where we try to help you help other people by taking your great innovation, the right opportunity, mixing that with sound wisdom, so you, no, not someone else, but you can turn them into real things like products and businesses that make money. And those people you help, they say thank you. Let us give you the opportunity to continue helping us by sending you certificates of appreciation called dollar bills. Now, back before GPS was mainstream, we kind of think of GPS and you know, the GPS on our phone and just click on the address and we automatically get mapped and directions to exactly where we want. Well, believe it or not, boys and girls, there was a time before GPS was mainstream, when really either just really nice fancy cars, or you know, it was kind of an expensive toy to have. They didn't work really well. The early ones didn't, but there was a time before that. So during that time, before GPS went mainstream, I came up with an idea to take down directions very easily. I used to travel a lot. I did a lot of marketing and sales in my business, as well as the R&D side, which was kind of a unique thing I did in my business. I got to live on both sides of the fence. But you know, I traveled a lot, and I drove a lot, and in that driving and finding, you know, where the next account was, you know, I really kind of found a pain point, and that was like, okay, how can I take these directions down? I actually got real good at one time, somebody giving me directions and me being able to remember, okay, here I turn left, I go down to this light, I turn right, you know, and I would kind of like keep that mapped in my head. I got really good at that. But to make it easier, I came up with this thing, and I want to get a little closer. I've got one page is like the examples. So this is like sort of filled in. It's like this is what it would look like. And this is the actual blank one too. But I called it Dirostats, which I want to tell you about the name here in a minute, because that's kind of part of this whole video and kind of part of the subject today. So I went as far as researching this market. I went to truck stops. I was thinking, you know, truckers, you know, that are going to places maybe they don't know, and you know, if they needed directions, they could like write them down really fast. It was kind of neat the way it worked, really, and I guess I should show you that a little bit. So you'd put the address, you know, where it's directions to, and then you would put down like, okay, you go past here, and then you just check one of these boxes here, you know, a mailbox, a stop sign, so many miles, just little things, just little icons here, and then you you know, whatever this road is next or whatever, and then you go left, right, north, south, east, west, and you just circle one of those. And then you go to the next place, okay, and then I go this far and then I turn here. So, you know, it was just a real simple, logical way to kind of take down directions. So anyway, I thought it was a great idea. But I was doing a lot of other very important priority things at the time. But I did go as far as, you know, again, researching the market. I copyrighted it, printed some up. This is one of them right here. Made them yellow because I wanted them to stand out. And printed some up, and then I gave it what I thought at the time was a really cool name. Well, it wasn't a really cool name, and actually that's part of what I would call, the name was probably the biggest part of the fail on this. So I called it Dirostats, and I just thought that, okay, that tells what it is, tells what it does. It's directions and it's stat or info or whatever. So it's information to get you from one place to the other. That was my idea about it. But again, I named it this weird clunky name, and then I set it aside. And I thought, well, I'll get back to this when I have time, when I can get, my nose above water. I'm doing a lot of things in my business right now, and I'm building this other business, and I'm working on some other new projects, some other new new products. And this was kind of just totally out of the field I was in at the time. And I thought, you know what? I want to sit aside. I want to get back to it. You ever tell yourself that? I'm going to get back to this. And so I made what I now know is two classic inventor mistakes. One was just naming it something weird, and then the other one was just waiting too long. And that was probably the bigger of the two, really. But really I want to kind of focus on the name a little bit today. So then in 2007, GPS went totally crazy. The market got flooded. Everybody had one. And the low-tech opportunity of this idea completely passed me by. And so it was like, okay, now what do I do with it? Well, I guess I just have to kind of set it aside and maybe do a video about it someday. But I learned two very important lessons with this project. And one is that don't think you can always come back to your idea. Don't think you can set it aside and that it's just you can come back to it, pick it right back up, and take right back off with it, because the world is not a static place. Things keep moving. Technology keeps changing, advancing. Fashion keeps changing. And pop culture changes. What people think was really, really cool might be, anathema in 3 months. So things are always changing, and you have to keep your product either nimble or change it to where it would work very, very well like this. Very, very well in the new environment. So another thing is that you may miss opportunities that are here now but gone tomorrow. And so, if I'd have done that in the early 2000s or maybe the late 90s, I don't know, then maybe it had kind of been a popular thing. It would have been probably very niche, if it had worked at all. I really didn't dig enough into it to find that out, because I put it aside. So another thing is having structure and diligence is so important to making progress in a timely manner. So if you're like, okay, I want to get back to it, I want to get back to it, but you never get back to it. Why? Because you don't have a plan to get back to it. That's what I did. So accountability from other people is also very good with this. Again, this is why I think you should be part of an inventor group. One that's near you, one that you like, maybe an online one. Of course, we have one, but there's a lot of other ones out there as well. Ours is kyinventors.org. So another thing that I learned from this, and this is kind of the bigger lesson here, I think. The other one is just as significant, if not more. But the other thing is that when you name a product or a business that has a deep personal meaning to you, and that's all well and good, and I've done that. I've done that a lot. I did that here, and it was actually not a good thing. But let's say you name something that has a deep personal meaning to you, but it's not connecting with your customers. And again, that's where I thought this was, in hindsight, this was a really, really stupid name. I thought it was clunky. Now, who knows? Maybe it would have caught on. I don't know. It's been done before. Google is, who expected that would be a name for a search engine? One of my favorite examples of this is eBay. For those of you who haven't heard this story, eBay was actually based on the name, on the word Ebola. Of all things, I think they came up with it. Let me think of the nastiest thing I can come up with. We'll make this website, but hey, it worked, and nobody makes that connection anymore. And everybody just knows what eBay is. But here's the thing: if it connects with the audience, if it really does, sometimes it will. But sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes it falls flat. Sometimes, especially when you're trying to get something off the ground, the more you can name something to where, ooh, I know what that is, I immediately get it, then the better chances you'll have of an idea or for a product or a business taking off. You know, again, in hindsight, I thought Dirostats, now looking back at my, you know, early 2000s Don Skaggs, I think that was a horrible name. And I didn't think anybody would probably connect with it. It was a name that was literally forced into existence. And I had a logical reason for wanting to do that, but it just, you know, I'm like, okay, I want to take this, and I want to take this, and I'm going to crash them together, and it's going to work. But it sounds awful. I still think it sounds awful. It just doesn't sound good when it comes out your mouth. Dirostats. So anyway, so what do you do when this happens, though? You've got this pet name for something, you've got a lot of feeling behind it. Because again, we have this nature of, I gave birth to this. This is my baby, and I want to name my baby. There's nothing wrong with that. You get to name your baby. But if it's not connecting with the audience, you've got to have the right optics, and it does have to connect with your audience. Now, one option on dealing with this, yeah, you can have your name. Just keep it as a, you know, this favorite name, this personal name, this vanity name, if you'd like, is your own personal internal project name. In other words, within your business or within the scope of all the people that's working with you, you've given it a project name. Now, I'll take a great example of that is Dean Kamen's Segway. Everybody knows what the Segway was, and that's kind of an interesting story all by itself. But Segway was, you know, a pretty good name, I thought. But before that, when it was an internal project, it was called, and I think they even have a book about it, about the project name. It was called Codename Ginger. So within the auspices of his development team and his business and the people that were building it, they gave it their own pet name. They called it Ginger. And so that was the name for it, but that wasn't the name they were going to use when they sold it. So you might want to kind of think about taking that track if you've got kind of a name, and you know you kind of already know, or maybe you tested it a little bit and it's just not connecting with the audience, with your customer base. Then you want to name it something else. Another thing is licensing. Now you're licensing, you're actually renting it out, you're selling it, whatever, to another company. Well, you want to paint the walls, think of it like selling a house. You want to paint the walls of that house beige or some just really plain vanilla color. Why? Because they're going to want to paint it whatever color they want. And I've actually seen inventors do this. It's like, well, no, the name of it is this. And I want the name of it to stay this because this is my name for it. And I want it to be, look, you're changing it. No, they can change it whatever they want as long as they're sending you a check. Okay? So sometimes you got to let things like that go. You've got to let that invention go. Let it go fly. Be free, little invention. And just let that part go. And again, that's where you've got to kind of decouple from that personal piece of it, because you're doing business, you're going to sell it, it is a product, and they name it whatever they want. You can say, hey, and if you want to, you can use this name, or you can make it whatever name you like. But come up with a name that's going to connect with your customers, something that they're going to get. And if you're going to license, let them paint the house whatever color they freaking want to paint it. So anyway, what idea are you working on? Maybe too slowly. Maybe you're naming it something weird. Or maybe you're letting time pass you by on a certain thing. What have you ever done that? Let me know in the comments. And if you're looking for more information on the right steps to take for inventing and entrepreneurship, doing it all in the right order, the right plan changes everything. Go to empoweredinventing.com. You can sign up for a free download of what we call our idea steps. It's a nice little step-by-step guide on going from just your initial idea to something that is successful, that you can be successful with and help others. I'm Don Skaggs. This is Empowered Inventing TV. Like, subscribe, help us to build our tribe, and I'll look to see you at the next meeting, workshop, maybe one of our online courses, or on the next video.